Hello and welcome to the From the Spirit World podcast, a legendary Avatar, The Last Airbender, and the Legend of Korra podcast for OverlyAnimated.com. This is the From the Spirit World rewatch, the definitive Avatar fans rewatch from the biggest Avatar fans you know. We'll be reflecting on Avatar and Korra almost 20 years later after being huge fans of the show while they originally aired. I'm your host, Dylan, and today I'm joined by Allie.
Hello.
And April.
Hi there.
We are going through Avatar Book 2, 3 episodes at a time, probably every week. Search for From the Spirit World or Overly Animated anywhere to subscribe to either feed or our dedicated From the Spirit World rewatch feed to get all these podcasts. And we are on video. Go to youtube.com/overlyanimated to watch the video version of this podcast. But it's just fine if you're listening on audio only as well. You can see the little Appa on top of Allie's mic.
And the Momo. Yeah.
And the Momo.
And all the Avatar paraphernalia behind me.
Yes. Does it see our assorted paraphernalia? We'll be in full spoiler territory for all of Avatar and Korra throughout this rewatch, regardless of what episodes are being discussed. Be warned for spoilers for Avatar and Korra. Send us your questions and comments for us to read on the upcoming podcast to podcast@overlyanimated.com or leave a comment wherever you're listening. Today, we are up to The Swamp, Avatar Day, and finally, The Blind Bandit here, episodes 2, 4, 5, and 6. I'm very excited to get into these episodes, but first we are joined by April for the first time.
Yeah.
April from Overly Animated. April's not on From the Spirit World, so a guest appearance today.
I feel so cool.
You should feel so cool.
Yes,
I've been talking about Avatar with you.
We're talking about Avatar 20 years after. So cool.
Yeah.
Well, I meant like I'm in the elite club now.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
let's go.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, some of the oldest Avatar fans.
Yeah, so April, not from this world, so don't expect the same level of expertness. But I am curious. I don't know April's Avatar history. So, April, when did you first watch Avatar and stuff?
So I'm gonna start this by saying that when Avatar first aired, it was while I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't watch it while it was airing. I'll just be very blunt. I probably didn't watch it until after I graduated college, and I think it was whenever I was living by myself, and I didn't have like cable or I didn't have internet either. I just had my phone.
Where did you
and I was
watch
literally
it?
like,
Wait a minute.
I had a TV, so I would connect my phone to the TV and like stream it through there.
5G? Streaming Avatar 5G?
Oh, it was
I don't
not
think it was
5G
5G.
then.
3G at the time? I don't know. Whatever it was.
I was like, it was definitely not 5G then. It was because that was probably like 10 years ago.
Were you
So,
super into it right away?
Yes. Because it was one of those things where like it was still showing up everywhere, you know what I mean? Like in the memes and just like online. And I was like, okay, like I guess I need to finally see what this is all about because I clearly missed out. And I have probably rewatched the entire series easily, probably like 15 times.
15? Okay,
if
that's
not
solid.
more. So
April's a
like,
rewatcher.
I'm a rewatcher.
I'm with
It's
you
a
there.
comfort show.
Yeah.
So
What about Korra?
Korra, I've only watched it a couple of times through, and
still good.
I'm totally embarrassed by that.
That's still pretty good.
You didn't watch that while it was airing, did you?
No, I didn't watch that while it was airing either. So
That's fair.
totally
Okay,
missed
let's get some
the
background.
bandwagon.
Big question. What? So you weren't younger, super young when you watched Avatar, but were you shipping anything when you watched it?
It's so bad because while I watched it, I was just like, man, I really want Zuko and Katara to get
Oh my
together.
gosh.
It's
And
not
then
bad.
they never.
I thought you were gonna say that. That was
It's
my
not
guess.
bad to want that. I'm gonna just put it out there.
How do you feel now?
I mean, everything's fine. You're always disappointed when you don't get the ship that you want, right? Like, but I can't be too mad about how things played out. So, yeah.
And what bending nation you affiliate? Do you self-identify?
Oh no, I've taken these quizzes before.
Well,
I'm Fire
what's
Nation.
in your heart? Fire Nation. Okay.
Okay.
I'm Yeah.
You're-
But maybe like no, I'm probably Fire Nation all the way.
Okay, you're joining Mel in the Fire,
Fire Nation is
got it.
cool. Just not where we are
I'll
right now.
retake the quiz.
Okay, we'll find. I mean, we need a better quiz. There's the quiz is available.
You know, there's a million. The official one is whatever. But
it's not great.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't take the official.
Well, that's good stuff.
Don't take that one.
No. Take like a Reddit one.
A Reddit one.
I don't know. Like someone on Reddit will link you to a more official one.
You gotta find the most unhinged you quiz or
Yes,
whatever
yeah.
one. Like that's the way to go.
Something that
Okay.
asks you like, how do you take?
What did we
coffee?
take? What was the one back in the day that we used, Allie? Like during Avatar fandom times.
You
It was
think I
something like
remember
you
that?
quiz. I don't think it was exactly that.
I mean, that's the
website,
thing.
though.
I don't remember like the URLs back then.
Yeah.
But it was definitely
They
something
probably
like
were
that.
completely
Something
different,
like that.
too.
Anyway. Yeah. Maybe we'll
Do we have
unearth that.
archives?
Yeah, and I just
I'll
want to say,
unearth it.
don't worry, listeners. Allie, I, and all we were not cool enough. We were watching Avatar in middle school and high school. Don't worry, like we definitely were. So we
It
were
doesn't make
obsessed
us
with it then.
cool. What are you talking about?
It like totally missed the boat for me, and I'm so
You missed
upset.
the boat. You were too cool.
The
in high
important
school,
thing
and
is that you
missed the
found
boat.
it in the end.
I did. Eventually,
Yes,
we found
that's
each
good.
other. We're in love. What is it? Because we have a Plex server, and that's where like we've stored all of our episodes and everything.
Smart.
And our one friend who like manages it, he's like, April's always the #1 Avatar like rewatch, because at the end of the year he'll be like, who's how many
Do you get
who's watched what the most?
You got a
And
Spotify thing
do
like at
something
the end
like
of the year? Yeah,
yeah,
that's nice.
He always recaps. He'll be like, well,
What's your favorite episode?
Ethan watched
Yeah.
500 episodes of.
Nice.
We should
Okay,
do
well,
that. I
what-
like-
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff from Maple. And throw in any of your memories or takes on it as we go.
Well, I want to
April.
ask a question also. Did you start with the first episode? I'm just curious. Like, did you start from the beginning, or did you like jump in at a random? Do you remember?
I started with the first episode.
Nice.
The dogs.
That's good. Good stuff. Okay, let's get to the 3 episodes we were talking about today. The Swamp, written by Tim Hedrick, directed by John Clairvaux, by Avatar Day, written by John O'Brien, directed by Lauren McMullen, and The Blind Bandit, written by Mike and directed by Ethan Spalding. We are here with The Blind Bandit. Probably a lot of tough discussion in this podcast, but The Swamp is a big one as well. And find out, did we hate, love Avatar Day? One of the, Allie and I identified it as one of the only potential questionable episodes of this season, along with Appa's Lost Days. These were our 2
Oh,
top
we did.
contenders.
We did.
But I wasn't committing to anything. I got to rewatch it and see. Will we like it? So we're about to find out. Allie, what was the, and it's not about the quality evaluations. What was it like rewatching these episodes? What do you think of these episodes?
I mean, especially Toph's episodes, she holds such a special place in my heart for so many reasons, and we will obviously get into that. I think The Swamp is like, I mean, both of them are top tier, Swamp and Blind Bandit. Avatar Day is still, I think it is a good episode, and like, honestly,
Why before the podcast started did you say I forgot how bad Avatar Day was? And then we
I
get on
didn't
the
say that.
podcast and
I said I forgot how much like I didn't like it at the time. Like I remember watching the episode and I was like, "This is like the dumbest thing." I only care about the Kyoshi mentions, and now I still only care about the Kyoshi mentions because
in a different
Yeah.
way.
because
Yeah.
you read the books and you watch this episode, you're like, nothing's really like, there's no special revelation or anything, but it's just like little
They
tidbits about her.
expand more upon Shin the
Abs-
Conqueror.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, not him. Not maybe about like
we don't care.
journey
about him.
mentality to get to that place, and
It's a big Kyoshi episode here.
big Kyoshi episode. The Aang being in prison part is funny. I just like, I mean, I feel like we talked about this on the podcast last time, like at the end of it, it's like these two, the Avatar Day in the middle of these two feels a little like not making it weak. I mean, it's done for a reason because it's like kind of giving you time to like digest what you saw in the swamp to then move to the Blind Bandit without just like bang, 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 like immediate like rapid fire lore and like new character development. But I mean, they're all really good. I think it's a good succession of 3. Quality wise, I think they're all great. Like even if I don't really like Avatar Day as much, I think the pacing is really good. Humor is pretty solid most of the time. I think Aang should be put in drag more often because he really slayed, especially with the makeup. Yeah, and Blind Bandit is just such a good episode. I know that's like, we will be talking about it in detail, but top tier because Toph is in it. Like, it's definitely in the top 20 at least for Toph for me.
Top 20 Toph episodes? That's not
Top 20
saying that
Avatar
much.
episodes
Okay.
because Toph.
because of Toph. Okay.
Yes.
Top 20 Avatar
mean-
episodes. I mean, it still doesn't seem like a lot, but for Avatar, that's high praise, like, for sure.
It's really
Yeah.
well written. Like, emotional moments. Toph is
Yeah.
just, we'll talk about her.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and feel free to get into her early and often.
No, we'll talk about her.
April, what did you think with rewatching these 3 episodes?
Well, it's funny because I can tell which episodes I truly pay attention to and which ones I don't. That being said, I was just like, I don't remember this much about the swamp, and I've seen the show a lot.
There's a lot in that episode.
Yeah, and there's a lot in that episode too. But I think these 3 episodes are good. I like that, like, something gets mentioned in the swamp and then it pays off in the Blind Bandit. Avatar Day is an interesting ride. I mean, I love the Kyoshi parts, obviously. But like, I don't know. It's a good episode. Don't get me wrong. They're good episodes, but like, yeah. I don't know how to use words.
What about the Blind Bandit?
Blind Bandit's a great episode. I love the introduction to Toph. It's very
Was Toph one of your favorites when you watched?
No.
Interesting.
Okay.
It's only because, like, I love Toph and the Blind Bandit, but as this, like, series progresses with her, she gets kind of bratty, and I don't have patience for that. So
you were a little older than watching it.
yeah, I was a grown human watching it, and so like, but like, I love her in this episode. Like, I think it hits so many good beats. Like, you get like a truly like good look at her background and where we go from there, and it's like there's consequences. It's a great episode. I like Toph in this episode. I don't like that she gets bratty later, but in my opinion, so you guys can come at me, I don't care. But it's a great introduction. It's fun. The humor hits. Like, I love the wrestling, like, I don't know, tribute.
Are you a wrestling
the
person?
belt. I was when I was a kid.
Okay.
So
You have some insight here. Nice.
not that much insight, but that was a long time ago.
Okay,
But
yeah,
so.
nice. Well, look, I don't think we're gonna get into Bratty Toph because that's to come on. I actually think it'll come pretty quickly here, so I don't think we'll have to wait too long. But you know, I'll see what I think rewatching it. My initial take is like she's 12, you know, so I think it probably checks out.
I mean, yeah.
You forget the context. Similar to, I think we said this throughout From the Spirit World for Korra, you forget that this is like a extremely sheltered character.
Yes.
It's like a key part of their
Yes.
backstory for Toph and for Korra. I didn't even
Yes.
remember that connection between Korra and Toph.
I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like I bring that up all the time on the internet and nobody understands. Just when people are talking about Korra versus Toph, because they're like, who's like, you know, they're both sheltered. Who is
they're real similar. Like,
who's more obnoxious?
Yeah.
I'm like, they both are, but for reasons.
And it's a pretty clear reason. I think Avatar clearly, and even into Korra, they like do a backstory in an episode and then they just don't bring it up again.
Yeah.
Like
Toph's
they
is
kind
at
of just
least
let
brought
it
up
be.
a bunch.
Okay, well, I'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe not
the
a bunch,
details
but they
on
do
Toph.
mention it again in season 3.
I was gonna say
Okay.
it gets brought up again.
I mean, these
at
people are going to be
least,
chasing
so.
her for at least 2 episodes.
Oh, those guys, yeah.
Minimum.
Maximum. Like 2. It's either 2 or 3 episodes that they're on screen the rest of the season, from my memory.
I can't remember.
I would be
Like,
shocked if it was 5. Maybe it's 4. I'm.
It's like,
We'll
I
see.
can't
Okay.
remember.
Yeah.
The desert.
It's 3 episodes. Okay, did I like? So obviously the Swamp's great. Blind Bandit's great. Swamp is, I don't know, kind of different than I remembered. I agree, I didn't remember too many of the details other than the visions they see. I think that's just because the Swamp is like a vibes episode.
Yeah.
Like not a ton of plot
Yeah.
happens, you know? And then it gets very philosophical at the end. And it's like, wow, this is
Which I thought you would be into as well.
I loved it. I loved the soul speech at the end. It's totally a Tim Hedrick episode. This is the second episode after The Deserter. It's like the same thing, like again. With
it has one of the best quotes in the series in it, I think.
Yes, honestly, and you know what else has one of the best quotes in the series that I completely forgot was in this episode?
Okay, I thought you were
Avatar
gonna say
Day.
No!
It has one of the most iconic Iroh quotes of the show that constantly gets quoted by people. And I just did not remember that it was in Avatar Day. Hold on, let me scroll down.
Yeah, I don't remember which quote you're talking about.
Well,
Yeah,
you
I
forget
don't
that it's in
remember
Avatar
either.
Day. Iroh says to Zuko, never give in to despair. In the darkest
this
times,
episode.
hope is something you give yourself. That is the meaning of inner strength.
Right.
That's in Avatar Day. Can you believe that?
Right. I just rewatched and I forgot.
Wow,
about
my
that already.
brain blocked that out.
Me too.
And this is one of the many
It's been a couple
reasons
hours.
why Avatar Day is a good episode.
It is a good. I never said it's
not
a bad episode.
And
Yeah,
I don't-
we're not saying it's bad.
I actually think it's like it's not even the worst episode this season.
I
Like
don't think
it's
so
right up there with Return to Omashu. I have them like ranked side by side. Like
Yeah.
it's honestly Avatar Day is hilarious. I think it's really funny. The thing with Avatar Day that I might not have appreciated as much when I was younger, although I looked at my old rankings and I didn't have Avatar Day that low. It wasn't that low. I might never appreciate this episode is like very intentionally camp, very silly.
Yeah.
And it's like very stupid, and it's aware that it's stupid. Like it's trying to be stupid. So
Yeah.
you can take or leave that, right? Like it's kind of like a subjective humor, but it's not like, oh, this episode sucks, like, and it's like so stupid, and like it's trying to go for a specific kind of comedy style. And I kind of loved how silly it was. Honestly, there are some pretty iconic moments to me, like Aang talking with the prisoners.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorites when I was younger, and I
yeah.
still love that. Like
It's a Katang moment. I mean,
you
how
got to
could
tell her
not,
how
like,
you feel, and he comes out of the restraints like on
smart,
his
handsome, funny. Not to mention
like-
the Avatar.
yeah, I love that scene. That's so good. And there's honestly, it's like Sokka being the detective is really funny.
That is very funny.
Katara
Katara dealing with his whole shtick the whole time too is all very, very funny. Very siblings.
and this is an iconic Sokka episode. He's like, I used to be the boomerang guy. That whole thing is from this episode. That's like Sokka's MO.
That
It's
was
like,
something you.
It's from Avatar Day.
Does that count as a Sokka episode if that's what it's about?
Well,
He
it's
gets the
like,
boomerang back in the end, so it kind of like
boomerang. You always do come
wipes
back.
the slate
It's
clean.
like his iconic
Yeah.
shtick starts in this episode. I feel like
It
so. It's
the beginning of this episode is funny. There's time for your staff
Yeah.
and time for your scroll, but no
The
no time
kills-
for my boomerang.
Yeah.
I literally wrote R.I.P. Sokka's boomerang.
For some reason, after that line, Ellie, Katara's "That's correct" is like it was like rent free in my head. Like I remember the way she delivers that line. Like,
That's
forever.
correct. Yeah, it's very.
It's just like rushed for the pace of the episode, but it's pretty funny the way she says it.
yeah.
Like the Kyoshi stuff is good. Honestly, this episode accomplishes a lot of things. We set up Suki later. We go back to Kyoshi. A lot of stuff with Kyoshi. The Zuko Iroh stuff is pretty key in this episode. We have rough rhinos. I forgot we're here. They're really cool. We have a Katang moment even. So there's a lot of stuff going on. This is not King of Omashu. This is like a level up from that's
Yeah.
and that's why you could argue I think season 2 is a level up from season 1 because it's I think this is supposed to be its King of Omashu, and it's totally at least a tier or two better than that episode. So that's but we loved book 1. And Blind Bandit, it's a great episode. I mean, I didn't remember how much Toph intro backstory identity stuff is packed into this one episode. I think I didn't remember. And
it covers a lot.
honestly, the biggest weakness of the episode is that there's too much going on. Like it is way jam packed. It moves way fast at the end. It doesn't necessarily. I mean, it definitely does not need the like we're going after the Avatar stuff at the end. And so I don't know, like Shinfu and Master Yu and everything with we spend a lot of time on the wrestling, and it's fun, and there's some great action scenes too, especially once Toph fights them towards the end. But definitely a ton going on. Probably the thing preventing it from being like a truly elite episode to me, but still like pretty excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, really good stuff from season 2. Yeah, I definitely came into the rewatch for book 2 last podcast thinking like, okay, is season 2 going to be as iconic as we remember? And it's really strong through 6 episodes. It's really strong. I'm interested in this next stretch of episodes, but until we get to Ba Sing Se. That's like the next test for the season. But
Yeah.
I really love honestly all three of those. I love Avatar Day. Like it's so good.
That's a take I didn't expect from you, but I'm happy about it.
I don't remember my take on Avatar Day when I was. I don't remember.
I don't
my
either, but I feel
original
like you
take.
would have been lower than
You would
this,
think,
kind
and
of.
maybe. But did I ironically love it?
Unironically.
Okay, I was gonna get into something I ironically
And
did, but I'm gonna save it. We got to talk first basic.
If you finish this, you'll like it even more.
Yeah.
In what way?
In every
Just
way.
enhances Kyoshi's character, not
Yes.
In every way. All the ways.
Like,
Are you telling me that
it really does.
that there's like the ancestor of the mayor of Chin from
Maybe.
the town in there?
Who's
And,
to say?
I don't know.
the wheel of punishment is hilarious. Like boiled
The
in
Wheel of Punishment was
Yeah.
my favorite part.
It's so that's
like,
and then they
Looks
get
like
the
it's
fun fact.
boiled in oil.
That guy's so good. Yes, like
yes.
that's a good impression, Allie. That's really good.
Come on, community service.
Yeah, it's really funny. I'm telling you.
Please, community service.
Community service.
And that, by the way, I just want to say, at the end they say this is the worst town we've ever been to.
But it's definitely
Yeah.
not.
I would like to make the argument this is the most developed town the show has ever shown. We get first of all, it has a name. It's the town of Chin. Like we get a name. We meet many members of the community. We learn about their justice system. We learn about a holiday that they have. Like this is like we visit many nondescript locations in Avatar. This is actually like a very fleshed out town, and they like crap on it the whole time. It's pretty funny.
It's great.
We learn its backstory.
I mean, their way
how
of
it was
dealing
founded.
justice is actually pretty like it's interesting. You just spin a wheel. I think we should develop that. We should
Yeah. I
I mean,
adopt that.
That's the punishment. The where their justice, it's just
Well,
us.
it's dealing with crime.
You say
Yeah.
what you
Yes.
happen, and I say what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and we
Okay.
decide who's right.
I love the mayor, by the way. He's so bad. He's so
Yeah.
hateable. It's great. Okay. Do you want to talk about Toph? Okay. Let's go. Let's do all the Toph stuff with you. Let's how about anything on the swamp? I mean, Toph is in the swamp, so
The swamp benders we didn't mention.
Yeah. What do we
the-
think of the?
Yeah.
Due, Tho, and Hu.
I think it's
Good
Hugh.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Hugh or
Hey
Hu? I don't
Hugh,
know.
how you been? I
Well,
remember
he
that
says
guy.
it in an accent, so it's
Hugh.
kind of unclear, right?
Yeah, it's hard to decipher.
I always love the concept of waterbenders in the Earth
Yeah, I want to
Kingdom.
get discourse with you guys about this because
Okay.
they're swamp benders.
Okay.
Obviously, they're water benders because they're bending the water in the
Yes.
vines. But because vines are earth, can earth benders bend vines also like this?
I got scared when you said discourse. This is the best form of discourse you could have brought up.
This is like
This is classic
This-
Avatar discourse. Like,
It
should this be
is.
this element?
I don't know if it's like still. I mean, I'm sure this is still. debated
I would
specifically.
say the show justifies itself with the like bending the water in the swamp because of the blood bending, right? Like I think it doubles down on that.
That was exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna be like, it's kind of like its own form of blood,
Blood-bending
bending,
for
though,
plants,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
I see what you're. Okay.
Mhm.
That's in. You could argue, yeah. I mean, can an earthbender can only bend earth, but what is earth? Is moss on the
Yeah.
ground earth, right?
That's
like
what I always struggle with is like, is it a leaf earth?
is a leaf that falls? Can you bend a tree if you're an earthbender?
Thank you. These are the hard hitting
Yeah.
questions I want to discuss all the time.
I actually think waterbending makes the most sense in this show. Like anything with water, earthbending I
Yeah.
think kind of makes no sense.
Yeah. Even
Um,
firebending makes more sense because it's like just oxygen.
Well, firebending has its
Oxygen.
own thing. It's like it's.
Yeah.
I forget the discourse.
So if you
It's
heat
like,
up the air enough, I don't know.
Can you get fire out of thin air? Can you need a heat? You fire source.
In this
That's like
series,
the
you can. In the movie, you can't.
Okay, and
Yes.
I forget the discourse about fire, but and air I guess is just air. But what are you actually bending with the
Right.
air?
The
Yeah.
oxygen or the CO2?
Yeah, and people are like, it's a fantasy show. You don't need to get into this much detail.
But I
we-
want
I
to.
need to know the science.
Yeah, consider I want to. This is the
No, honestly, it's a good point though, because this is like the start of them really getting into water bending and like
right, and
what
it's
it-
subsets. Like we saw
it's-
before,
yeah.
like steam,
Yeah.
not steam. Whatever Paku does in. We saw ice. We know it could be
Yeah,
liquid
well,
and
ice,
gas,
Yeah.
and then now they have this. So just
Yeah.
subsets of different elements.
It's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the swamp benders are hilarious. I love the concept of them being in the Earth Kingdom. They don't even know that each other's there.
Yeah.
They're only given this one dinner scene to reconnect with Qatar and Sokka, and Qatar is really awkward at the end, and it's very funny, but it's like, wow, these guys are
Also kind of racist somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's like these
Not
very much
really,
painting them as Hicks, but it's I think it takes them seriously
Yeah.
to some extent, and it gives it's I mean, we get Sokka's "I'm eating a giant bug." It's pretty iconic at the end of this.
Yeah.
It is very much stereotypical portrayal.
Also, Sokka's skepticism of the whole like just spiritual self throughout this whole thing. It's like
Yeah,
that's good. It's a good Sokka's character episode in that regard. Yeah,
it is, even though he doesn't really change his
Like,
mind.
I was gonna say he like is constantly throughout the episode like, whatever, magic's. He's basically being like, magic's not real, and I'm like, bruh.
You live in a world where your sister can control the water, and you think magic isn't real.
And you have a flying bison, and
it is funny what people in fantasy shows consider magic. Yeah, to Sokka bending is accepted. But that being said, he's seen so many things.
Ghosts aren't real.
It's true, yeah.
He's seen this. I mean, literally, there's spirits, but like
he saw his girlfriend turn into the moon, and he's like, "Ghosts are not real."
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Are you okay, bro? Like, he needs therapy.
Don't
we all?
Really Sokka does. But no, that all stuff is good, and then it like comes together at the end with Hugh. I think it's Hugh. I would say Hugh, actually. Yeah. Hugh has reached enlightenment. So this is, by the way, I feel like this is a trivia question. Where Hugh reached enlightenment under the banyan grove tree. It's like not brought up again
that a few years ago.
Yeah, Ali would probably answer
a few
that
years ago,
correctly.
not now.
Like, so enlightenment in what regard? Like, in what? I'm interested in that, but at least he elaborates on philosophy, so I think it gives us more.
Is it kind of like air nomad philosophy? Kind of like detachment. Like, did Guru Patik achieve spiritual enlightenment, and that's why he's a guru?
I'm interested to see how Guru Patik relates to this at the end. So we'll come back to this discussion, but I would say in this episode it's presented as like general spiritual enlightenment, which in this series is not necessarily like a religion because it's like real, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's kind of functions similarly, but it's not necessarily a specific religion. It's just like the spirit world is a thing, and I'm like connecting with.
It's like tapping into the energy of the planet, very like Final Fantasy.
And it's not even it's very JRPG. The whole world is connected by a giant tree. It's like every JRPG.
Perfect.
But honestly, the main thing is the theme of everything is connected is a pretty key component to the show. I think this episode is one of the key things that sets up like balance with the whole world. Part of that is everything being connected, so I think this is a pretty key episode in the show's philosophy. And this speech by Hugh, I think, is pretty iconic in that regard. I was really into it. You know,
yeah, 100%.
The whole world's one organism.
I'm more into it now than I was when I was a kid, honestly. Like,
yeah.
I think when you're younger, you're maybe more skeptical of stuff like that.
Yeah, and I feel like the beginning part of the episode is really, it's because it's kind of madness all over the place, so it's really like tailored to that younger audience, and then they're like, all right, at the end, let's get into the real stuff. Like,
you draw them in, and then like the swamp did.
Yeah,
like as they're tuning out, ready for the episode to be over, it's like
they're like, oh, by the way, everything's connected.
Yeah, and
this is what those hallucinations were.
Yes, and another key iconic quote: "Time is an illusion, and so is death."
That's what I was thinking of. Just time is an illusion. Period. Like I say that all the time now.
Yeah.
I mean, now I say like time is a weird soup, but like time isn't real. It's just not.
Is this show's timey-wimey?
Space and time are infinite because they don't exist.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
time is man-made.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So and it connects to the visions they saw and the Aang's of someone he will meet.
It's all about time.
And I love Aang sensing Appa and Momo through the tree and the visuals of that. I think that's all really good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
you don't know. You don't understand how that coming back in Korra made me scream. It was like huge payoff.
I don't remember this.
Come on, book 4 after Korra goes to the swamp.
Korra goes to the swamp? Are you kidding me?
You're messing with me.
Even I remember that.
You're actually messing with me. You're just trying to make me angry at this point.
Look, it's in here somewhere. I'm not accessing it right now. Korra goes to the swamp? Oh my goodness.
You're messing with me. I don't.
Yeah, you sound so sarcastic when you say that.
I'm trying to remember. It's on the tip of my.
Let's move on.
My head. Okay. This is what this series was for, so I can remember what happens. Like I don't know. Okay.
Don't remember that.
When I watch it again, I'm gonna instantly like the second the scene starts, I'll remember the whole scene,
You're gonna
right?
remember
But I
Korra
don't
alone.
remember it right
It
now.
leads into
So
her going.
It's okay.
She meets
Korra alone, please. I do remember there's a Korra alone. Okay. Just kidding. No. No. I really am. I'm fuzzy on the specifics. I think we'll be watching Zuko alone bring back Korra alone. That's gonna be interesting.
I don't think so.
Oh.
These episodes, by the way, set up Zuko alone, another key aspect of
They do. That's true.
Yes.
it's Avatar Day does. So it's another key function of Avatar Day.
Yeah, okay, you know what? I retract my statement from before we recorded because this episode's really good.
Okay. Look, but it's oh yeah, another iconic because the Zuko and Arrow stuff is pretty like layered throughout these first 5 episodes. So the swamp into Avatar Day from the previous episodes. But in the swamp, it has like an iconic story structure. We start with Zuko and Arrow, and we end with Zuko and Arrow, and there's nothing in between with them. It is all Aang.
Yep.
I don't believe I've ever seen this since then, Allie, in any of our shows. I don't think anyone's tried to replicate the swamp structure of B of like the whole episode.
I mean, I'm sure. Are we talking Western animation? Because I feel like anime has done that before. But also, I mean, I feel like maybe Young Justice is. No, Young Justice is too much.
It
going
would
on.
be a young. Well, no, they're not going to stand one story the whole time. It's so weird. I actually love it for this episode. I love like not into.
It's almost like a sea, if you think about it. Because while we're in the swamp, we're covering
right.
Like,
Momo and Appa
like,
are B.
Momo and Appa.
Yeah, Momo and
getting
Appa
into
are like a B. That is true. You honestly, it is like
I would say
it's like C, A,
they're more
and
like
B,
the
and
B.
then C. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
I definitely forgot this is also where Iroh's iconic song comes in that nobody remembers.
Yes.
And I think they should have played it at the Avatar concert.
I don't
They
think
didn't.
I remember this. This is an iconic song to me. Long, long way
Yeah.
from Ba Sing Se. Yeah, I love this. I think this is one of the best songs of the show.
I agree.
And then Due and Tho sing as well in
Do
the
they?
middle.
Oh, they
like,
do.
briefly.
They do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a musical episode.
This was the musical episode.
This has happened
everybody.
twice now. I think we had
I
a
know.
musical episode before this.
Well, yeah, we said Cave of Two Lovers was the musical
Right.
episode. This is not as much.
So
But,
season 2
We got
is just
two in one
season
season.
2 should just be a musical. Netflix, if you still haven't finished production,
that would be one
Do
thing
it.
that Netflix could do. That would be
enhance it?
be having a musical
Absolutely.
episode. They bring something to the
love
table
it.
that Avatar didn't do. A full musical episode.
and like shows used to do this, and we don't get them anymore, and they were really good. Like, do
Well,
it.
that's why Has Been Hotel. It's a
Yeah.
Ah.
That's a whole
It's
musical.
a musical
series.
show. It's different. Yeah.
Musical
It's a
episode,
musical.
like,
Yeah.
it's really good.
I was gonna say it's more along the lines of what was the show
Buffy
called?
the Vampire Slayer.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh yeah, has been. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
and every episode was an entire musical.
Like
That's
if you
all
were to
the show
do
was.
an Avatar, like you could just do like it would work because a spirit
Yeah.
would be like causing havoc of like making everyone sing,
Makes everyone sing.
just like
Yeah.
Buffy when it's a
That's so
demon,
camp.
but it's a
so
spirit this time.
Oh right, someone called Netflix.
Yeah, get us
Okay.
get us
We
on
get-
register.
Look, hopefully they haven't written season 3 yet, so they could do it.
The comment just
Yeah,
makes
so-
everybody sing. Actually,
The
Yeah.
the guy they're Zuko and I are like busking, and the guy like slashes at his feet, and then at the end of the episode, Zuko brings back the blue spirit to enact justice on this guy.
yeah, very Batman.
A big component of Zuko's arc again here. He's first of all he's experiencing being poor, which they get into in Avatar Day, and Arrow says there's a simple honor in poverty, and then he's also like he's not just capturing the Avatar, he's like enacting justice on like people who've wronged him and rich people he's stealing from in Avatar Day. So it's a pretty interesting progression of
It's
Zuko
like
here.
it's a weird version of Robin Hood. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the royalty stealing from the rich.
Yeah, I mean, look, Zuko does steal from the rich guy, but he also like just takes groceries from everyday people in the town. So
Yeah.
he doesn't really have a leg to stand on.
He's
there, but
actually a
it's
reverse
interesting.
Robin Hood.
It's like he
was
does
gonna
both.
say-
It is though.
Oh yeah, he does like both versions of
Mm.
it.
It's interesting.
So we
'cause
will
they
see
get
where
into,
this is-
like shame later in the episode, not in the episode, in the season 2, and like, I mean, I feel like he's very like ashamed at the start of this episode too, like
Yeah.
with what they've been reduced to. So there's a lot going on for him.
We commented that in season 1, Zuko's character pretty simple. We get into his backstory, but in terms of what he's doing, it's pretty one note in season 1. I think honestly, through 5 episodes, there's already maybe more complexity to him than there was in season 1. Like, I know this is like an all-time iconic TV arc, Zuko this season into book 3, but mostly this season. So I know this isn't like a hot take, but honestly, it does stand out even through the first 5 episodes. They're not even in 6 that what him and Ira are going through, and in all B plots, like it's I guess maybe except for the first episode, which is also major.
It's impressive what you can do with very little when given the opportunity.
I think so, for sure.
Character development.
Yeah. But good stuff in the swamp, and I know Katara sees her mom. Sokka sees Yue, saying, "You didn't protect me," which is interesting. Right?
Wow.
It's like maybe moments they regret. Well, no. I was gonna say moments they regret, but
and Aang sees Toph in.
Oh, it's also you brought up Yue saying you didn't protect me when it was very much her decision.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
so,
I think you could argue this is Sokka's like shame manifesting, or his
something he blames himself for.
His grief manifesting into shame through this.
That's why I would feel the sort of similar with Katara, because we know why. I mean, we don't know now why, but as you watch, her mom died. Like, it was to protect her because she lied about being the last waterbender, whatever. So it could be in a similar-ish vein, but I don't think that was maybe what they meant.
I need to see that play out in this show, because I have stuff from the Netflix show too in my head. I'm like, what was the Netflix show? What was the show?
Just put that one out of your mind.
I want to. We need to finish this. But Sokka.
But that is interesting that they would both, like, as brother and sister, they would both be
grieving,
like going through the same experience in the swamp.
Yeah.
Like,
cool.
Even though we don't necessarily know why Katara is, seeing her mom, why she might be feeling the way she is, that is interesting to see now, like, knowing what we know, that, wow, could you guys be any more like siblings? Cool.
Did you guys, when you saw, I'm just trying to think, like, when I watched it for the first time, do you remember, like, seeing, like, not the silhouette, like the back of her mom? Did that give you, like, oh my God, like, she's here moment?
Yeah, maybe. I think it was
probably. It's like you kind of heard about her a lot before coming here.
It is a big moment with seeing her for the first time. And maybe the bigger question that people would want to know from us, Sally, is like, did anyone at the time predict Toph?
No,
because this is 2 weeks before.
Absolutely
she's
not.
really introduced, and I think the answer to that question is like, it was only 2 weeks between these two episodes. I don't think we really remembered, and the fandom wasn't like huge yet. It was like getting big, but. So I have no idea if people were like speculating about who Toph was in the swamp. I don't, it's not like a thing where nowadays you like check it. So
even rewatching it, I was just like, whoa, there's Toph. Like,
what are you doing here?
Where did you come from?
Seriously.
I don't have a specific memory of like we predicted it or we didn't predict it. I think it was just, it's very soon after that they pay it off, honestly.
I mean, it feels random until Hugh explains why.
Someone you will meet. Yeah, and I like that too. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. Oh yeah, but the only other thing I want to say, Sokka sees Yue in the swamp in Avatar Day. He then asks about Suki. Is Sokka moving on very fast?
It's kind of messed up, isn't it?
Wow.
I mean, like,
he did it like that.
He wasn't like, hey, where's Suki? I want to hit her up. Like, he's in Kyoshi. He's gonna ask about her, but
it's
still,
true.
It is...
Yeah. I was gonna say it feels more like just like general, like, hey, it'd be nice to see a friend kind of thing, especially given that he had gone through a lot since then. Like, It makes sense that he would, like, obviously inquire about her while...
As we know from the first episode, it has been several weeks since the book 1 finale. So it's not like this is immediate.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. It's not like he's, like,
in the context of the show, on the context of the show, he kind of does rebound pretty fast within, like, the span of 10 episodes. He's rebounded, so...
Because I think at the time, when we were watching, like, when it first aired, we were kind of all like, wait a minute. You just lost somebody that you were romantically intent with.
It's hard because, like, it seems very sudden.
Yeah. Like,
in terms of episodes, but knowing that there's a huge amount, a good amount of time that's passed between, like, I feel like I can be more forgiving then, so, versus when immediately watching being like, excuse me, sir, like, your girlfriend just turned into the moon.
She's always going to be watching.
And that's the part, is she's watching. No, but like, in real life, look.
Every evening.
In real life, however fast someone wants to move on is very personal to them, and people, it's up to have each, so whatever. Okay, but we'll get to all the Suki stuff later.
That.
Yeah, just Avatar Day. Unless there's anything else from the swamp, I think it's just a lot more like moody and slow building up to all the stuff than I remember.
It's a very like the swamp is a very slow moving episode, and I think that's also why. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I probably watched it like 3 times before this podcast, and every single time I'd start it, I'd be like, I don't remember this.
I thought you rewatched Avatar 15 times. Is that only some episodes 15 times?
That's before today.
Oh, you rewatched for today
yes.
3 times for?
Yes.
Okay.
Iconic behavior, honestly.
Just the swamp, not the
It
other
also
2.
is
The
that
other
good.
2 I was fully
You had to like it's like when you read a line in a book but it doesn't register, so you just keep rereading it until
And it never like I was just like, wait, did I watch this? I don't remember.
I found myself rewinding a lot, so it's like the same.
That's good. Okay, but yeah, no pressure ever to rewatch multiple times, of course though.
What if we want
No,
to?
that was all
Yeah.
me.
I know.
You know
That's
that.
it's just April behavior. I know. For me, if I sometimes I read a paragraph in a book, especially if it's like scenery description, and I'm like, okay, I didn't get that. I'm gonna reread it. I'm gonna read it. I just have to accept I'm not gonna get it. I'm just moving.
I do that all the time, even
I just need to move on.
in these books, which you should all read.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep promoting this.
Might have happened to me when I was reading part of it.
How dare you?
okay.
You didn't
It's
finish
okay.
it still.
Look, we'll revisit it. Okay, maybe look, Allie.
Even
I'm gonna
I
keep bringing it up on the
finished
podcast until you
That's
read
good.
them.
Hey, April, what's your review? You said you finished it. Have you?
I've read the first one. I haven't read the second one yet.
Okay.
So don't worry, it's coming.
Okay.
Like I gotta get through. I got like, oh no, they're
Looks
on the other
very
side of the
similar,
windowsill.
Allie. Is that
It
the other one?
doesn't. Rangi's on
Yeah,
this
that's
Let
one.
me see the
second
2
one.
covers.
Rangi's
Okay.
on this one. Her bodyguard girlfriend.
It has the same swish.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
kind of
just-
cool.
That's just the thing. I think all of them.
Is it
have that.
all of the books have that?
Yeah,
Okay,
they all look
interesting.
the
I like
same.
the thematic.
Yeah, they're very good.
Okay, Avatar Day. We talked about a lot of parts already. We
Okay.
don't need to spend too long. Any rough rhinos thoughts? I feel like they're kind of
So they
iconic.
they were
Do they
like
come back, Allie?
no.
No, I don't think so.
I guess we'll see.
They are so. I mean, I just watched the episode and I already forgot. They were like a group of mercenaries that Iroh used to work with.
I don't think they say that in this episode.
Okay,
I don't think they say that in this.
I'm about to go on the wiki.
but-
They're just cool people going after Aang in this episode. It's basically
They're
it.
just
A group
so
of
cool.
Fire Nation cavalry who work on a freelance
Yeah, I think-
basis, claiming their lord to the Fire Lord,
word.
loyalty to the Fire Lord. They are mercenaries. What does Iroh have to? It's fine. They're fine. They're cool.
They're cool. We're fine.
It's whatever.
Reminds me of reminds me of that like Russian mercenary group who that they said that leader was gonna like take out Putin.
Oh
that
my
one time,
God, of
remember?
all the
It's a deep pull, but it kind
That
of
is-
reminds me of that.
Whoa!
Anyway,
that was out of nowhere.
Does that not remind you? It's kind of a similar.
All the
Maybe they're
politics
going
I'd
for
expect
that.
to be brought up.
I
not-
forget the name of them.
Yeah,
Not
right?
I forget the name of them.
These guys all have names, which is amazing. There's
Right, yeah.
Seven.
No, honestly, they're all really cool. It's like better designs than these characters are worth given their role in the episode. But it's cool that Avatar does stuff like that. Like,
They're unworthy.
They have a lot of history. Wow, this is surprising.
no, there's stuff about them later. But they must get into them in an episode. I don't know, but maybe it's just in auxiliary material.
They come back in the
It also-
comics.
Could be from comics. Could be from the Avatar extras. There might be stuff from there. I don't know. Anyway, what else we got? So the Zuko stuff. He's again. Yeah, we talked about him stealing stuff, and that Iroh quote in the darkest times.
Yeah.
That is the true meaning of inner strength. Zuko says he needs to find his own way, and he leaves, and Iroh gives him the ostrich horse.
There you
Which, by the way, Allie, we forgot to mention in the last podcast. So they steal the ostrich horse from Song, and Song looks on sadly.
Right.
Very sad moment, but it's Zuko like more like evil somehow than even in some ways, but it's like
Because he's
kinda
going
like,
through a lot.
he's going through stuff, but you're more
Yeah.
understanding. I mean, you're understanding of it in book 1 too, but it's different.
Way more now because you meet his crappy sister.
And in this episode, I think Iroh said, I don't think capturing the Avatar now would solve our problem. So it's like a new chapter for
Yeah.
Zuko. It's interesting.
It's almost like he's he's literally trying to figure out who he is and we're trying to figure it out at the same time because all of season 1, that's his identity is trying to capture the Avatar. And then we get into season 2, and it's like, cool, now we have to make you a real character.
Well, it's like capturing it to regain his honor and go home, but then Azula's like, you're not coming home. Because
Azula would take them home as prisoners. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Allie, speaking of things I wrote down things we forgot last time, but it's on me. The spirit water, the spirit water in the beginning. The spirit water gets set up.
Oh, that's really important.
I mean, there's not much to say about it. In these podcasts, we don't need to say everything that happens. I'm just saying some things. Some things I wanted to note. Iconic to me, Iroh quote in Cave of Two Lovers. The Iroh, you that duck you had, and he's much practice pats his belly. That's like an Iroh line I've imitated a lot. Like much practice after you ate a lot, and then that's what you say. That's your response. And we talked about this whole. We're not going to get into it again, but the discussion about Katara frequently only having like traditionally feminine roles. I forgot a big reason that spawned that thought in my mind was in Return to Omashu. She's like, "Oh, baby," and she's like happy about the baby, right? So, which again, fine on its own, but again, that was part of what spurred that discussion to me. Anyway, okay, I got through those. So back to Avatar Day. What else we got?
It's interesting you say that about the baby because Aang also is like he's very like I don't want to say motherly, but he has like he's holding it like
paternal.
But he's fatherly. I don't know. It sounds weird. He's 12.
It comes with all the past.
Yeah, and also maybe with like I mean, growing up like as an air nomad, like it's different. It's just different.
Yeah,
that's interesting. What else from Avatar Day? Oh, we get Foamy. Yeah.
I remember he was controversial last time we talked about him.
Was Foamy in? I don't think so. Was Foamy in? I just brought up one aspect in that. Was Foamy in the first episode? Yes, right?
What do you mean?
Or no?
No, he was in just Avatar Day.
He's just yeah. So pretty.
Kyoshi Warriors and Avatar Day are the only appearances he gets.
He was in Kyoshi Warriors and in season 1.
Yeah, but that's not. You said episode 1, season 1. Yes.
Season 1.
Episode 4.
So. The thing I like about Foamy here, I don't remember if he did this originally, but he's like he does the foaming and then he's like really embarrassed after. That to me is the funniest part.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, the Avatar is actually not here.
Yeah, and he's like, I just walking off like no one saw this. Yeah,
he's like, oh,
and
cool.
we said oh yeah, now I remember we said this in book 1, but like right now it's like Cabbage Merchant is like the meme, but at the time Foamy was as much of a meme as Cabbage Merchant while the show was airing. Like people love,
and he has way less appearances. Cabbage Merchant still comes up.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like Cabbage Merchant, to some extent... Okay, this is controversial. Cabbage Merchant is the casual fans meme.
That's not controversial. It's true.
Foamy is the real Avatar fan.
It's true. That's just fact.
I believe that.
So this is what insight you're looking for on this podcast. I'm just saying.
Like, you can't tell me if you, as an Avatar fan, if you saw the Avatar, he destroyed your cart of cabbages, you wouldn't react like Foamy instead of the Cabbage Man. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would gladly let Aang or Korra destroy my source of income.
More Korra, let's be real.
Both of them. They're both my children. One of them's my firstborn. The other is my favorite.
Yeah. We'll get to Korra. We will have a lot to say about Korra. Don't worry. We see Coco. More importantly, we see Coco again. No, where's Angie? Yes. No, he's not here. I'm sorry, Coco.
Angie.
So sad.
And there's a fun fact about Coco that I don't want to spoil, but it's in the books, so you should.
In the books? Coco's... Oh, you said that last time. Okay.
Kinda, sorta.
For Coco, I might read the books. That's
God! That's what it's gonna take.
I doubt Foamy is in the books. Let's be real.
No, he's not.
I doubt it.
But his blue, that's just the Kyoshi Island.
I think we specifically named the mayor Oyaji. Like, I don't think we named him last time, so I think they go out of their way to say that here.
Wait, is that his name?
Well, Oyaji.
No.
Yeah, I might be mispronouncing it, but yeah,
you got it. But that's too cool.
They wrote down, they ask about Suki. Suki and the Warriors left to fight in the war after being inspired by them. We're setting up later, so I think that's
which like slay. Good for her.
Yeah. It is kind of weird that in the show, you just like go fight in the war, and you just like independent nations, independent groups. They just go and they're like.
That's true.
Why not?
It's not like there's not really an organized effort.
To me, it was weirder that like
No wonder they're losing.
Probably, honestly.
It's
Honestly,
true. Yeah, the
true.
Earth Kingdom does not have a good in scripture.
They really
That's
don't.
true. First, I was like, it's kind of weird that like they weren't fighting to begin with, and they were just on the island. But I guess it was to like self-defense.
Yeah, so it's part. Yeah, it's part of the backstory, right?
When they leave, who's
part of the
defending?
backstory that Kyoshi sets up in this episode, that she separated off the island in order to defend herself. So yeah.
Yeah, she's so.
She is. She's so cool. I'd let her destroy my cabbages. Also, anyway.
The biggest feat of any Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, they're like, the relics, don't touch them, and then Aang just has the relics later. Like
they
just
take
took
them.
them off screen. Yeah.
And the makeup. They're
Yeah.
like, this is mine now.
That's true.
Yeah.
I wonder if they stole them.
I'm sure they. I feel like. I mean, Sokka might have tried to steal them, and Katara probably sweet talked them like, "Hey, this is her
we need it
past.
to
This
defend
is
the
her
Or she bullied
future
them
life."
into it.
Yeah.
So like, we're trying to help her actually.
Yeah. We talked
Yeah.
about the prisoners. Kyoshi, and she tells the Chin the Conqueror story.
Oh, I do
And,
like. Sorry, on the prisoners, I do like that they accepted Aang because he was bald and had tattoos. That was just
Yes,
And tattoos.
you'll fit right in around
They're
here. That's another
bald
guy
and
with a good voice in that
Mm-hmm.
episode. Yeah.
It wasn't even like bald and tattoos. They're like bald and
Nice tattoos,
good-looking
yeah.
Yeah, like they very specifically were like, "You've got really well done
yeah. It's
tattoos.
like, let me.
Join
yeah.
us."
Who's your artist? Can we get this?
I
Yeah.
think that would be in my top 25 jokes of the series, is the prisoner stuff in this episode.
It's really good.
It's so
Sorry,
good.
back to Kyoshi. She's very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Sorry.
the story we know. I of note that's like, Kyoshi killed him. He just like screams and falls at the end.
Yeah.
It's like, is it because
Yeah.
they didn't want to show an Avatar killing someone so explicitly, or is it that this was the funnier way to do it, or I don't know.
Well, it's interesting too that we have this episode and they're trying to prove Aang's innocence for murdering someone, especially because like him being a murderer becomes such a big huge like thing for him later on, and he's like, that's not who I want to be, that's not how I want to be. So they're almost like pre-setting up the like internal conflict of his. But I do also really appreciate that they're like, yeah, Kyoshi's gonna be here to let you know what really happened, and she's like, I
killed
murdered
him, yeah.
him. Like it was all me.
And
Yeah.
like,
But like, she didn't,
like-
from what we saw, but I guess it's euphemistic, the portrayal we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the impression you get, is probably she killed him more directly in real life, but this is like the stylistic portrayal that we saw. Because she like indirectly killed him from what we saw. It's a good point, April, of setting up the season series finale stuff. Definitely a big point of contention, I think, with us at the time, that we'll get more into. The fact that they don't really feel the need to directly set that up, but let's note thematic things like this, which are shown. Boomerang, you always do come back. The unfried dough. There you go.
Why couldn't they have cooked it in a different way?
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
They
air
could've baked
fried.
the dough.
Air fried it. Why didn't they have air fryers?
Air fried it. Because he's an
Yeah,
airbender.
he's the last one.
Did Aang invent air frying?
I hope so. Oh my god.
That's
Why
what
are there
I'm
no
gonna
air
credit
fryers
it
in
to.
Korra? We're gonna need to redo this.
Yeah. Well,
Twenties.
Korra's still in the 20s. Yeah, so
Right,
maybe the
man.
next Avatar show they'll have air fryers.
That might be
Airbenders
the
doing
only
air
way I can
frying.
accept a new avatar, if the air fryers exist.
Ooh, like an urban avatar.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Avocado toast eating, air fried.
Anything else? Yeah, avocado
Yes.
toast. Do they have avocados in Avatar? Not that we know of, I believe.
They haven't been invented yet.
Yeah, well, in theory, there's probably only like Asian produce, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
if
like, is there? I mean,
are avocados
exports
native to? I don't know.
somewhere in the
A
tropics?
lot of stuff is native to different
Somewhere.
places than you think it is, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Native to the Americas. Okay, so yeah, they wouldn't have had avocados. Okay, although obviously, waterbenders, Inuit. So anyway, any other thoughts about Avatar Day?
Read the Kyoshi books, please. Like, it
Okay,
just gives
that-
you
that's
more
a, that's
insight.
A no. That's a no. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, unless the mayor of Chin is there, not interested.
Oh my God.
No, but you said Coco was there, so okay.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I thought Coco was what?
You're just
You're-
pissed off.
Oyaji's ancestors are going to be there, probably.
Probably,
Um,
probably, yeah.
Okay, the Blind
Probably.
Bandit.
Okay.
We're going to talk about top quickly. Sokka's bag and the belt. I
Yes.
think is a big meme too. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of iconic comedy moments that are from the Blind Bandit.
Yeah.
That this episode's like known from Toph, but there's the like Water Tribe, right, like that's from this episode.
None of your business. The island of
I don't know if
Nanya.
that's as iconic, but I think
It's
that's
a
very
good
funny.
joke. I'm gonna just.
I think
put
it's
it out
very.
there.
I think the more iconic thing is Katara's "A girl has
Girl
her
has her
ways," and
ways.
then they're frozen to the walls.
And I love that she just straight up bullied them. Like, yes, girl.
I mean, she froze them and they're stuck there, and then
Yeah.
they're
They're
again
thaw.
later.
They're gonna thaw. It's fine. Summer's coming.
A lot of the show
I'll-
does the bad habit of like just people being left to be frozen, and I guess it's like okay,
Frozen.
they'll thaw out
Yeah.
eventually.
It's just
Why
ice,
not?
and it's almost summertime.
A lot of wrestling stuff. You know, Mike and Brian are wrestling fans. They get.
I genuinely did not know this.
They get Mick Foley to voice the Boulder wrestler. So this is a whole thing that they put their love of wrestling into. They have the heel, I guess. Is that the heel, which is like the Fire Nation man? Would that be?
Yeah.
Or is the Boulder the heel? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's I think Fire Nation man, who has like a Russian accent for no, like, I think that's the funniest part. Is he's
Please
like,
to rise.
because that's what it would be in American wrestling, was you would have the Russian guy who's like gets beat up, but it's funny that he's still Russian even here. So I think I love Fire Nation man. My fire lord, my flame burns for thee. I think it's so good.
So is that their anthem though? Like,
I think I think he's making that up to be campy.
Okay.
Well, they don't we have the Fire Nation Pledge of Allegiance in the headband? Do we?
the Pledge of Allegiance is different than the anthem.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, they're not the same.
Earth Rumble 6. April, any thoughts on the wrestling?
I'm a huge Boulder fan.
Yes.
Like,
He's very fun.
I am Sokka when it comes to Boulder. Like,
You'd root for
I
him
was
over
there for him
Toph?
the entire time. No, okay. The Blind Bandit stuff. I literally wrote, "LOL." Okay, am I watching Ladybug right now?
That is her superhero persona. That is true. She has a secret identity, like literally.
She has a secret
Oh no!
identity.
In terms of the Toph, I was really into the hidden aspect of you, right? Like I think that's very relatable to a lot of people. I really like that like hidden side of Toph. I didn't remember that as much. The Boulder's like the Boulder is over his conflicted feelings. That's probably his best line.
As soon as Toph, like,
I just love when people
push him
like
down.
big buff dads and their little daughters cosplay them. It's the cutest thing.
That's good. That's
It's
good.
adorable.
So cute.
Toph calls him the Pebble. By the way, Toph sounded so young to me in this episode.
She
Like,
did. I
know
mean, she was.
Yes.
she was
12. She's
It's on
engaged.
purpose, and also but she just sounded. I'm interested. Will she sound this young the whole time? Like, I mean, like
More or less.
it just is. Yeah,
Yeah.
she said it was like Allie, to me, it was like I said, like the May and Ty Lee and Azula. Like, she
Yeah.
just sounded so young. Like,
I mean, she
and
sounds
these characters are
way
slightly
younger
younger.
than those
Young.
girls. Like, way younger.
and because Jessie Flower was like that age at the time.
Yeah,
so
like Zach.
Yeah.
Jessie Flower, of course, was Mang. Now she's Toph. So there you go. Everyone knows that. So it should be noted about Toph. I forgot I was going to say this. The thing you hear about Toph's origin. So originally, the Earthbending Master was going to be the buff dude from the intro, who they turned into the Boulder. And the story Mike and Brian have told many times, and I should say it here to credit Aaron E. Haas, since I've been hard on him so far. He is famously known for having the idea to make Toph a young girl instead of a buff guy. So Mike and Brian do frequently credit Aaron with that, and everyone thinks it was a great decision. And I do think it. Yeah, I mean,
It's probably
Would've
the
been
best
just a
decision they made for the whole series, honestly. And I'm not taking that lightly.
It's really up there, yeah. I mean, Toph. Well, we'll get to this but Toph, a beloved character. Yeah, I mean, we can come back to the episode. Allie, we have a lot of Toph fans and from the Spirit World. I know Delaney and Sam, obviously Toph, huge to them as well. We could get Delaney's thoughts later. Allie, what did Toph mean to you? I guess at the time. Now,
Well, at the time, she didn't honestly mean that much, because I was also like very. I don't want to say I was raised conservatively, but I was very much like a conforming, like, I should be like a girly girl, even though I didn't want to be. And I mean, I don't think Toph resonated with me at the time, but I was kind of like, just like, I'll keep this to myself for now, because like I'm not about to get into it with my family or like people at school. But just seeing like such a very much tomboy-y, one might even say, I guess, gender nonconforming girl presented on screen from such a young age to like my demographic at the time, being also a young girl at the time, was huge, even though I didn't like see it as such at the time. Like I felt it and I just didn't process it until I got older. And on top of her being like a differently abled person, I don't know what the correct term is, disabled, differently abled, like
disabled person.
As someone who's not disabled, like I can't really physically disabled, I can't really speak to that sort of representation personally, but I think it was done so well. I don't think anyone's kind of doing it like her, doing it like them anymore.
Yeah.
I can't think of a good example. I mean, like, it's just the way it works with earthbending also is just very brilliantly portrayed, like with like the sensing other like physical movements and like just sounds, relying on other
stylistic
senses.
screen of the vibrations.
Yeah,
it's
and her
done
earthbending
right
style, the way that they made her earthbending style different than everybody else's, like Sifu Kisu like came in and did all that special work with her. Just everything about Toph's development is so incredible, and I don't think anyone will ever do it like her again. It's just so unique, I guess. For like,
what about older Yoda Toph?
Yeah.
Does older Yoda Toph do it like younger Toph?
No, not really. I mean, yes and no, but she's
we'll get to her.
Different when you have like a kid trying to like, and you mentioned this too, like her secret identity from her family. It's like you're trying to like be who you really are while also trying to people please and not upset anybody you like care about, and it's complicated.
Yeah.
Not to say
older
Toph isn't cool, but.
Well, and also the element of like even after her parents see her for what she really is, it's a non-acceptance from them. They're just like, yeah, but you're still our little baby princess. Like,
so you've been lying to us this whole time? Okay, that's not what we wanted.
Yeah. Also, we don't care. Like, it's like we don't care, but in the bad way. Not the accepting way.
Not do whatever you want, but like no.
Yeah.
And
I know. Toph definitely means a lot to a lot of people who grew up girls and women, and like I think, hugely popular character. We can talk about that aspect too.
And she's funny as hell. Like she's just very funny.
Yeah.
Toph, I think some people might want to know right now I'd say, Allie, you're more in the weeds. Like, is Toph still probably one of, if not the most popular Avatar characters?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes. I mean, she's still debated. Like, people do, what is it, like anime battles? It's like Toph versus Gaara, I think was the thing.
People are like, who would win? Yeah, that's the whole thing. But in terms of favorites, I think Toph is
in the fandom. Yeah, Toph is still very up there. It's like
people might want to know: was Toph so popular right away in the show?
That is a good question.
I have an answer to that because I'll bring my fandom aspect from my fandom memory. I have unearthed a character tournament that I ran after book 2. So in between book 2 and book 3,
that's what this is.
That's what that
is. At the bottom. So I became an admin at Dongbufang, and one of the first things I did, I loved the NCAA basketball tournament even when I was like 12 or 13. So I like, let's do that, but with polls of what character do you like better at Dongbufang? And so several hundred people voted, and I did this whole bracket of 64 characters, including some random. I put Crazy Foaming Guy as the name of that. So I guess Foamy was not his name.
I was going to ask when in fandom, what year was this?
This was between books 2 and 3.
Okay.
So yeah.
Like as they were airing?
Yes, this was So April, you missed it. We were fans at the time. We were podcasting at the time. Yeah. So this is a little bit later than we are right now in Avatar, but this was so I guess it would be probably sometime in 2007 before book 3 came out.
Yeah. Because I looked up the dates because I was very curious. Yeah. So because I didn't even know like when they actually.
Yeah. So we're 2006 with these episodes. I started the podcast 2007 before book 3 aired. Yeah. So yeah, we did this character tournament. So this is not like right after Blind Bandit, but this is after book 2, after we see Toph learn metal bending. Spoilers. So
how dare
the final 4 was Zuko, Toph, Katara, and Iroh were the top 4
yeah, that tracks
here.
Except for
who did
Katara
Who did Aang lose to?
Probably way early on.
Aang lost to Toph. Aang was in Toph's bracket, so Aang lost to Toph before the final 4.
Whoa.
Surprised people put so much respect on Aang's name back then, because they certainly don't now.
I mean, still didn't make the final 4 of his own show. The finals was Toph versus Iroh. And the winner was Iroh of the character tournament.
Oh, I thought it was the opposite. That's terrible.
Yeah, Iroh is in red here. Yeah. So, look, it doesn't matter. Anyway, like right now, if you were to say who are the top two most popular, it might be Iroh and Toph.
I
Like,
would say Zuko and Toph. Zuko's always popular.
But
Yeah.
I think it might be Iroh. Like, and the two most popular characters, according to this big survey I did in 2007, after book 2, were off Toph and Iroh. So yes, Toph was that popular at the time. Essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
I wonder
I do
if
remember her being very popular.
the Netflix adaptation is going to keep
I was
this.
gonna say this is very interesting for me to like learn about as someone who watched the show.
Well,
what,
that's
many
that's
years
what we're
after it
going for with
aired.
this podcast series. April, if
Yeah.
you want to listen back to these, that's what we're talking about here.
Well, and it's funny because you're just like, we're definitely gonna get into Toph, and I'm like, I mean, I like Toph.
Oh yeah, no, she.
But is she that big of a deal?
Yeah. Yeah, listen,
Some people
in
love
2006,
Toph, for sure.
especially, like this was kind of groundbreaking. No earthbending pun intended, but like
It should be noted just on the feminist aspect.
Yes.
Like we talk about like, book 1 finale. We had a great discussion about how the Northern Water Tribe stuff was handled from a feminism lens even now, but. Obviously, the base analysis is like Avatar had a lot of strong, I'm putting quotes in the video, strong female characters, just like well-developed, very like physically and mentally strong female characters, which definitely was less common in 2005, 2006. Like for sure, is like less in animation in general. It's definitely like less common.
That's
so
probably,
book 2,
that's probably why it hit differently for me too.
Yeah.
I watched it at a completely different like time and space.
yeah,
in
you'd
terms
seen
of,
like a lot of
it's probably more commonplace, but yeah, I mean, it was, and we like honestly, book 1 really just has Katara,
Yeah.
but book 2 comes firing with Azula, Mei Tai Li, Toph in here, who's the epitome of what you would think of
even
as
like
topic.
Suki,
So
like
yeah,
so
they bring
many.
Suki back and develop her more. Yeah, so it's true. So, I mean, I don't know if there's too much analysis to be given here, unless Ali have more on this, but it's just like, yeah, I mean, this was less commonplace then. for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, also, I mean, again, like on top of her being disabled is crazy. Like it still holds up very well, and I don't think anyone's
Okay, well, I'm gonna get into that a little bit more. I have a lot of thoughts. I have many thoughts.
because I'm just trying to think of examples. I can't think of any.
Yeah.
But at a base level too, because I'll get more into like in the I'm going to talk about in the modern lens, which is not to say that it needs to be upheld to a modern lens. The show is from 2005, 2006. We understand. I just think it's interesting to talk about it in the context of now. I'm not saying that the show is bad for not doing it to today's standards. It's just part of this podcast series is talking about it in terms of 2024. It's just interesting. It's not that it's good or bad. It's just interesting. But yeah, at a base level, right, there's not a lot of disability representation in 2006 as well. So I think that's a key point too. So Toph, a pretty revolutionary character. I mean, even before I believe that they decided to make her a young girl, I think Toph was always going to be blind. So it's pretty interesting. I think they related it to earthbending and they wanted to go that route. So
Love that so much.
Yeah.
It's
Toph. It's such a great way to show like someone who's disabled being very capable. Like that is what I do love about Toph, is that even like the other characters in the show forget that she's blind, and that becomes like, I mean, a joke for her, but I think it's a good joke to make, is that she's just so capable that people forget, and I love that.
A testament to like how there's no limit, even if you think there is one. Like it's
certainly what the show is going for, and I do think it resonated with people. I'll talk about kind of the other side of it a little bit. Not that it's like super negative, but I want to get deeper into that. But certainly I think what this show is going for, and there's a lot of positives to be had there. I mean, okay, any more top thoughts we can come back to. Other things from the Blind Bandit, just because there's so much from this episode.
The teachers was one teacher, her teacher, and the guy
Master Yu is her teacher.
The guy who runs the academy.
Is Master and then Shin Fu, I think, is like
the guy who runs the
Earth Realm.
They sure are characters.
They are characters indeed.
Who are important eventually.
Oh, I want to talk about. So they sneak into the mansion. What are you doing here, Twinkle Toes? Of note, Sokka's like, don't respond to that. It's not manly.
You're the one whose bag matches his belt.
Yeah, you're the one whose bag matches. And Aang doesn't respond to it, which I love.
The whole exchange just all the way down. everyone gets a line, and it
Very
could just,
Sokka.
Yeah.
Good line from Katara. I want to talk about they go to the home and they're having dinner and here they're hitting each other under the table. I want to
Yeah.
talk about the scene outside. They make a truce and then they walk outside. And Toph explains she can feel vibrations with the earth. Here's the part. This is not. I was gonna bring this up no matter what. It is gonna troll Allie, but I was gonna bring
now
up.
why?
I remember.
I know what you're gonna say.
I don't know if it was on the podcast or just in our group chats. I think it was on the podcast. I definitely had
It's
a
definitely on
time
the
where I
podcast.
troll shipped,
Yeah.
but also a little bit real, but mostly troll shipped Tang.
Listen,
shipping
I
Tang,
understand.
shipping Toph and Aang.
I just don't agree. Like, I see the vision.
And I gotta say, I rewatched it, and
I-
the scene specifically when they're walking outside.
this is
at
the
night,
only one, though. This
I
is-
was kind of feeling it again.
Like,
I was kind of feeling it.
Just the only
I
one.
understand where those feelings come from for people.
I do too.
Because I mean they're 12-year-old kids.
They're
Like
the
Yeah.
same age, and
they're the
have-
same age. They're I say teasing each other under the table and throughout dinner, and then they have like that very like that good connection.
Yeah.
So I understand where that
I
originates
do too. It's a
from.
very vulnerable moment for Toph, and like coming from. Listen,
Mhm.
I understand the Tang mindset
I
because
really love that
Yeah.
scene.
I like
It's
opposites
it-
attract when they work. A lot of the time they
Yeah.
don't.
This is the opposites attract companion to Zutara.
And
is
like,
Tang.
that's why it's a
Mhm.
troll. But like when Toph is like explaining, like, you guys get to do whatever you want. No one telling you what to do. Aang's
Yeah.
whole culture is about freedom. She is
Yeah.
trapped. It's a very good dichotomy they have going on. So like, I
well,
understand.
and everyone knows who he is, and no one knows about her.
That's
Like her
true.
parents have
Yeah.
like because they mentioned.
You guys are
From
selling me
universes.
on it all over.
Yeah, we're trolling
Dylan,
you now.
I've got some terrible news.
They don't end
Listen.
up.
I hate to tell you
Listen.
this, but
I think I genuinely read Tang fics. I think I did.
I understand that though.
So do
Like,
I. I haven't read any. But
I
could see them
assume
being good.
I assume I was teasing Allie on the podcast. I feel like I definitely teased Mel like with Tang. I think Mel did not like that I was shipping.
So
Tang.
I
Like,
remember
think this
Mel as like I could not tell if she was trolling. I genuinely thought she shipped
was-
Zutara.
maybe
for
Mel.
real the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Like it was very embarrassing.
Hidden Zutara real. Hidden Zutara real.
It is. No, but I really like Tang, especially
Yeah.
as like a brother-sister dynamic.
That's
but,
like,
like,
yeah. They're
I understand the
connection as
romance
people.
element to it because this episode sets it up very well, like the potential
Yeah.
for
And
that.
then they don't follow up on it, but it did kind of set it up.
Yeah,
it did kind of do it, yeah.
They 1000% set it up.
They very much
like,
did. You know, like April mentioned, their kids. Kids tease each other when they have crushes sometimes, or like
mhm.
that's how they get to know each other. And
So, question: Did people ship? Did people ship Tang at the time? And the answer is yes. That was a ship when Avatar was airing.
believe
I don't think
that.
it was a huge ship, and
it still is now.
It very quickly gets eclipsed by Taka, which we'll talk about later. Toph and Sokka.
That's my most controversial take, is that I like Taka.
I don't think we need to set up Taka. That's not people. Everyone loves Taka. I don't think we need to set up Taka yet.
Well, they don't.
because
The fan.
I don't
young
think there
fandom
was any.
doesn't.
I don't think there was any Taka this episode,
No.
but so we'll get to it when
No.
it's in the show.
Tang is still a ship now, but it's mostly used, at least in fan fiction, excuse me, to get them out of the way for Zutara. So like that, I don't agree with. But like, if you actually
Yeah,
write them,
that's the annoying part.
yeah.
But yeah, I know. I love
It's a
that
ship
night
of
scene at night
convenience.
walking.
Yes,
It was-
yeah.
And I even though I was like a hardcore Tang shipper, there was a little bit of room in my heart for Tang. I am. I'm talking about just context at the time. Even though I was shipping Katang, I did this. I would say I was like a Taka ship. We'll get to it, but I was like legitimately shipping Taka as like a side ship. But
I
like,
was too.
I had a brief dalliance with Tang. I remember. So
That's shocking. I didn't think that would come from you. I thought it was just gonna come from me, but I never. So
I don't remember. I should unearth what but
should
no,
you?
I just love them. I just love them in this
Dramatic
episode.
readings. Yeah.
I'll see if there's
Oh,
anything
no.
else later. We should do some dramatic readings.
Oh,
That's the type of
Lord.
thing we used to do on From the Spirit World, honestly.
I would love to do that.
I want to be a part of this.
Yes.
Okay. April's meant for dramatic readings. It's true.
I really am.
They have that whole scene outside, and they get I forget they got ambushed in metal crates. I guess we're continuing to set up the metal bending thing.
Yeah.
They honestly set it up as early as book 1, but we're setting either.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
and then
take it
they-
as that. It's just like at the time, it's like she can't bend metal, so like of course.
Yeah.
It's just something that's
narratively kind of like introducing it.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say it's something that's quote unquote not possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
thematically making sure it's an aspect of the world in order to break it later.
Yeah.
Kind of set that up like that. Toph takes on all the wrestlers. She's blind and fragile. She can't help you. Yes, I can. And then she like fight. I think her fight with Shin Fu was like particularly excellent.
One of the most iconic scenes.
yeah.
I think a really early, excellent fight scene. One of the ones later on I think are maybe more iconic, but there's some great action ones here as well. And then Toph tells her dad who she really is, and she's never had a real friend,
Which is very sad.
That's so
You had too much
sad.
freedom. And then she comes out, dad changed her mind, but not really. And then
See, I did not
throws
get
Sokka throws the belt at her. You didn't get that at the time that it was
Nope, I thought she was totally.
I mean, it's unclear until they show the Avatar kidnapped her, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it's almost like when Sokka has that line of, "Oh, let's get going before your dad changes his mind again." It almost sounds like he's like, "Okay, cool."
He gets that.
Yeah, he's like, "Your dad didn't really give you permission.
Yeah.
Like, you sneak it out, but we're here for it."
Yeah, I agree. I think Toph runs out in her like normal outfit. I'm like, where'd this come from? Like, oh, you're in her. This is your outfit now.
Oh, and her
I don't
Earth
think it
Rumble
was.
outfit.
Was it earlier in the episode? I don't.
It
think
was
that
her Earth
wait,
Rumble
was that,
outfit.
It
Yeah,
was her
it's
Earth
her-
Rumble outfit. It's just without.
It's her disguise.
Mhm.
Her Blind Bandit
Yeah.
disguise.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I love that
I
she's
should've been-
embracing
she's
her
in this-
the persona that
she's
she
in the
wants
screen
to
cap.
identify with, like
Yeah.
Oh, it is her Earth Rumble outfit. She just doesn't have the belt on. Okay.
very gender affirming somehow.
Interesting. Yeah. So, and then at the end, we set up Master Yu and Shin Fu going after a kidnapped daughter. And I love ending the episode Toph happy riding on Appa.
Yeah.
Which is funny because
Yeah,
she later is like, I hate flying.
Yeah.
Which is
that
understandable
funny.
as like someone who can't see.
And she's so
Yeah.
far she's disconnected from the earth.
mhm.
So she's literally
Yeah.
blind in the air.
In general, I just forgot how much backstory to Toph and how well it's set up. Amazingly early written episode by Mike. Yeah, I think I didn't give enough credit to Mike, sir, the waterbending master in season 1 this episode. So Mike has some good stuff. I want to talk briefly. I mean, I have a ton of stuff written down briefly about Toph and disability in a modern context. Feel free to chime in. I mean, this could be such a larger topic, but I was talking to my partner Sarah about this, who's in disabled communities online, and she has a lot to say about this. And I've seen a lot of this in communities. We're not blind, so I can't speak to these exact experiences. And I've seen a lot of discussion here, especially in COVID conscious communities in disabled spaces. And so like I'm kind of aware of this, and the standards are different now. I'm not trying to uphold it to modern standards or anything. I just think it's interesting to look at it in terms of like what it does or doesn't do. I think there's like a lot of key like high level things. Sarah brought up like a key thing is she being presented as a full character, not just like her disability and like what results from her disability is like a pretty key thing. And I think the answer is like, yes, Toph gets ton, like as we were just saying, ton of backstory here. She is such a full character, so she's not like just the disabled character or anything. She's just like this very complex character.
Yeah.
So I think it really passes that basic
Yeah.
test as a start.
I agree.
So even though there are criticisms to be had, it's like doing some basic things right, even by today's standards in 2005, 2006, which is impressive. I feel like a key thing with disabled stories is like you don't want them to be like inspiration porn, in quotes,
Yeah.
right? So is Toph inspiration porn? I think for the most part, no. You could argue at times, yes, but I think for the most part, they probably avoid.
I think it's
that.
done delicately enough that it's not like gratuitous.
Yeah.
It's not gratuitous. I do. The only thing that comes to mind is like, and I'm going to reserve judgment until the book 2 finale with her learning metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing here, is because that kind of changes things. But for the most part, I would say they a lot of this is complex. So I don't have straightforward answers, but I'm just raising these questions. A big thing in modern disability discourse is like you accept people for who they are, don't try to fix them. You hear this a lot in regards to autism. There's like major autism organizations that like are about trying to find a cure, and that's like really bad. It is who someone is. Accept people for who they are. So is this about Toph being accepted for who she is, as opposed to like overcoming her disability. I think this is complicated.
I think it's very complicated.
I think it
it's
leans
tough.
on the former for sure.
Here's the positive that I have to say. I think the big thing that this show does is it sets up that I love the set, and this is something you wouldn't get from doing it until you're doing like a full rewatch. I mean, it's not like it's that minute of a thing, but in King of Omashu, Bumi's like, look for someone who's waits and listens. So we're setting up the qualities of an earthbending teacher that Aang needs: patience and listening. I love that work that the show puts in, so that when we get to Toph, it's not just that she has, because it's like, does she have like a magic ability because of her blindness with this way she can earthbend? And I think that the show doesn't fully commit to that type sort of thinking, which is maybe kind of problematic, because it's like, it's who she is. She has the patience, and we set up those qualities. I think that's a key thing the show does in order to make it about who she is rather than just about her, like her blindness or anything.
Yeah.
So that part I appreciated maybe more than I remember, for sure. There's this part of like, does her dad accept her? Her dad doesn't. You could argue her dad doesn't accept her for who she is. Like I was talking about, like, you should accept like her dad's like and part of this is about her being strong, which is kind of another topic. But I think this is kind of interesting. You could argue, and again, it's complicated, but the gang more accepts Toph for who she is and her disability for what it is than her dad, who was trying to downplay it, even maybe control her. Sarah pointed out that her dad doesn't want to give her autonomy, which is a key aspect of people deserve autonomy. So the gang, I think maybe you could argue, gives her the autonomy to do whatever she's capable of.
And they instantly give it to her, like
right, yeah. It's really right away in that end scene you get that. So I think that's So I am really, again, it's complicated. I'm trying to find a lot of positives here. The blind jokes, we haven't gotten into them a lot, but we do get our first blind joke with Sokka throwing the belt down on her. Two sides of this. You could say the blind jokes are the show showing that Toph is accepted for who she is. We're not downplaying that she's blind. She's blind. It's in your face. It's who she is. You could also argue they're making light of her, something like that, of her disability. Sarah points out a key aspect is like, are the jokes at the expense of the disabled person? And I think this show, maybe not this first one, but the show is very clear that Toph is in on the jokes. Yeah. And she makes them frequently herself. This is so I think the show will very quickly get there in terms of like, because a lot of people will make jokes at their own expense about a variety of things, and that's totally okay. So I think that's good that they show Toph being in on it. She's not at the expense. Now, of course, were the people writing the show have like lived experiences with disability? We don't know, probably not to a large extent, which applies to other cultural aspects of this show in terms of the representation, but we don't really know what people's experiences were. But that would obviously be much better if they did. And then maybe a last aspect Sarah was talking about is like, it's hard because she's like strong and she's like disabled, but she's strong. And it's maybe like Paralympics. It's like you like seeing these stories of people being strong. And it's like, I think it's one way. People have different ways of thinking about this. One way of thinking is it's okay to show that, but it's not the only story, because there might be people that are suffering or aren't necessarily strong, and that's okay too. It's like it's okay who someone is and what they're going through. So I would say this is. I mean, we're talking about this. It's like this is one story. This is not the definitive disabled experience. If you wanted to show a more holistic portrayal, you might show people that aren't like so strong with the disability. So it's okay. On the other hand, Sarah says stories suffered only focused only on suffering are also one-sided in their own right, though. So it's not like that would be holistic either. So there a lot of stuff there. Overall, it's like, it's complicated, but there are a lot of positives to be had, even from this 2005-2006 portrayal of disability that the show did. Yeah. And I think probably, a lot of disabled people might say that Toph, as younger age, was like great representation, and some of the only that they saw at the time. That's more important, really, than any minutia. I just think it's interesting to think about it from those aspects.
I mean, mostly it seems like it kind of held up for the most part.
I think there's a
I
lot that
think
holds
so.
up. I'm not getting too much into critical. At the very least, there's a lot that seems to hold up a little bit. Yeah, at the least a little bit. Yeah.
It holds up and kind of, I mean, again, it's a topic where it's all about how you as an individual interpret it,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, people have even disabled people have very different views of
yeah,
things here. So
because
yeah.
I think that's just how it is. I mean, when I view it, I see it as like that's not what they're focusing on. And when she, you know, I say makes fun of herself in a little bit of a way, um, it's kind of like she's reminding everyone else, like, oh, did you guys forget that I'm blind, kind of thing, like, but not in like a way that she's trying to make herself out to be a victim, like
Mhm.
she. So it's really interesting. And it's a very interesting portrayal, especially as the series continues on. Like you kind of get like both ends of the spectrum within this first episode because her parents, you know, oh, she's blind, she's so weak, like she's not strong. But then the gang instantly like gives her autonomy. Like they don't they're not seeing her as someone who's blind. They're like, hey, this is a very capable
Mhm.
earthbender.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
that's what we see her as.
and a key point is like it's okay if she was weak, and it's okay, and you
Yeah.
should accept that people are weak. I think it's just that her dad didn't give her the choice. It didn't give her like freedom to explore like what she maybe can and cannot do, and what
Hmm.
she wants to do and what not to.
Which
Which
is
I
a
think the show is very intentional about. So it is kind
yeah.
of doing this.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's such a huge thing in the like the disabled community too, is that like some a lot of people do get held back
Mhm.
because they're not given the chance to, I don't want to say prove themselves, but like they're just not given that chance to be themselves, be capable, be
People
all of those
put
things.
limits on them instead of
Yeah.
like them trying to like put it on themselves. But like,
Yeah. Or even explore what their limits are.
mhm, mhm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think if I were to criticize maybe the throwing the belt onto her, not a great first blind joke. Maybe she should have made the first
yeah.
blind joke. So, but we'll see that come quickly. It is kind of funny in context of the episode, obviously,
But
but
she, I
maybe
mean,
in the
technically she
concept.
did kind of set up the joke because she was on the ground going, I'll take the belt back from up where
Yeah,
someone would
Yeah.
see.
you could argue that, and I think the show will do things like Toph can't see when they're on Appa, as April mentioned, and I think that like even as amazing and capable as Toph is, she has limitations, and I think that the gang will respect her limitations. They'll like tell her what they're seeing. I mean, I'm interested to
Yeah.
see how that plays out in future episodes. Like, yeah,
Oh yeah, there's,
again,
I remembered a specific thing that will come up later.
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this is to come. And you could argue. I mean, you can make an argument that the 2024 show would not have Toph making blind
Nope.
jokes like this. It would be
No.
seen as not PC or
Did she
whatever.
even make
And
jokes in Korra? I can't really think about. I can't
I don't know.
remember.
I mean, Korra wasn't that long after, but yeah. And you
Yeah.
could argue that it's not good actually that a modern show wouldn't have her make like maybe it's better that it is acknowledged
Mhm.
in that
I
regard.
would say so.
So it is. It's very interesting stuff, and also we'll track the handling of disability throughout Avatar and Korra when we get to Korra later on. So I think that will be interesting for sure. Okay. Look, we're approaching 90 minutes. Do we want to get into queer characters in Avatar? Allie, anything that was top of your mind with
Well, first of all, I don't know why you went straight to me. No.
you said you had stuff
Well, I
you
talked
wanted
about
to talk
gender
about.
expression. That was mostly where I was
Yeah.
focused on because, like I mentioned, like as someone who grew up as a girl, I still kind of identify as a girl, non-binary, femme-leaning, even though I'm not femme at all. And this is the thing, like I mean, Toph being really the anti thank you
Antithesis.
of femininity to me at the time. But also like it's feminine phenomenon in its own way because you know it's showing girls like you don't have to just be a certain way. I know we get
Yeah.
to this in Tales of Bossing Say as well, which we'll talk about, and that also meant a lot to me. That specific part of the episode. In terms of sexuality, I mean, I'm not thinking about that with Avatar. I was not at the time. But I feel like maybe if a character like Toph was written, and this is probably going to be a controversial take. If someone like Toph was written now, like the way she is, I feel like people would make her queer, and I don't know if that would necessarily be a good thing or a bad thing. Like, I mean, I don't know, like if the writers were like specifically like, "Hey, here's a very non-feminine character," she's not gonna like men. Like, I mean, that's not like, why even like
that character shouldn't automatically
right.
be any sort of,
Yeah.
right, like
Exactly. I mean,
asexuality. So
I feel
that's
that way about like
interesting.
heterosexuality too. Like if you see a character on screen, we are just gonna assume they're straight because that's how we're conditioned. But like that shouldn't be the norm, even though it is.
Yeah.
Um, those are
And
my
I think it's just because that's what we've been conditioned.
yeah. Like I think the younger
in
generation
our experiences, I think like I agree.
would
I
not.
think the
Yeah.
younger generation
Media like media reinforces, non-feminine women being more
Yeah.
likely to be queer.
Yeah.
And vice versa with men.
Yeah. So I bring up the topic. I set it up last podcast a little bit, but it is an interesting, like, if Mike and Brian were to make Avatar in today's day and age, which they almost did with the live action show, who would they make characters queer that what they did not make in 2005, 2006? In Avatar, there's basically no queerness. I believe in it. Once we get to Korra, there will be later on, at least. Why didn't they? Well, it was a different time. I think it's something for the children listening. It's kind of hard to overstate kind of how different this 2005, 2006 time was from now. Like, gay marriage wasn't legal, and it was like way less common public acceptance for queer people. Like, it was probably like 30% people positive opinions of queer people, 70% anti, and now it's flipped.
Yeah, I mean that
right?
feels
So
generous.
it's like
also,
a huge,
even.
it's like, and it feels generous. It's just like a huge, it's like a huge difference. So it was like and it shifted very quickly. And this is America lens. It wasn't a common thing in media in general. I think there were some gay men in like sitcoms and stuff, but was not a very queer characters, not a very common thing in any television. Certainly not in children's animation. Absolutely none at the time.
Absolutely not.
Korra, at the end of Korra, is one of, if not the first, queer character presentation in American children's animation. So it was just like it was so much not a thing that they, not even on their minds. Did they want to include it? I have no idea. They're probably different people, but nowadays, I mean, clearly they end up having Korra and Asami be together. So it is something they're ultimately interested in. Mike and Brian, always very progressive people. They, like, we just had a whole conversation about how they have characters, disabled, strong female characters who are not typical of television at the time.
Yep.
And so I think they would be interested if they had the modern context in 2005. That's my way of defending that.
Yeah.
If it was a different time, they probably would have made queer characters. That being said, most of the characters in the show are children, so it's like, would Toph be queer? I mean, she's a child, so like,
it's just like,
why are we concerned about a child's
that being said,
sexuality?
Right. That being said, Toph has a crush on Sokka, so the show itself brings it.
Yeah.
Would if in that scene where Suki saves her coming up in modern Avatar, would she actually have had a crush on Suki?
What if they change it for
kiss
live action? Listen, if you guys are listening,
that actually Netflix should do that.
This is again. You made Oma and Shu lesbians. You can do it again. You can flip.
I actually think they might do that. That's a pretty easy switch.
Like, it's very easy. It would be very easy.
And it's like, okay, why are you talking about kids? Again, it's like the show itself does it. So I think it's worth bringing up. But obviously, like, we wouldn't have gotten into a whole like thing with Korra and Asami. Those are older characters.
Not to say that like kids can't like have feelings for,
Right. So as Toph does. Yeah. So, queer kids are a thing, and people can have kids can have queer feelings. So
I think it's just a normalization kind of thing. Like, it was not normal at the time, and
way more ostracizing experience.
Yeah, and in 2024, like, it is a much more open thing, and it's a much more open experience. Like, it's not uncommon for a kid to be like, hey, I like boys, hey, I like girls, hey, I like
they'll talk to their parents about it. Like, they'll talk to their peers. Like, who do you have a crush on? It's like, I don't want to say,
and the latest, youngest generation kids nowadays are very, very queer. like potentially like over half of
so happy for
younger
them.
generation nowadays identifies as queer. Like it's very
amazing.
They have they have the opportunity to be themselves.
Yeah, they have the
like
we were talking about limits before.
Yeah, like when we were all growing up, it was not.
Yeah,
it wasn't really a thing, and
we had limits put on us by other people.
Mm-hmm.
And now look at us.
So So who would they make queer in modern Avatar?
Everybody.
I mean, the easy answer is
Everyone.
easy answer is I think Toph is an easy answer, but as Ali said,
Everyone.
that's maybe too narrow of a lens. But it's
Yeah.
also like, I think Suki would be an interesting.
Like even
and
Aang, I
honest-
mean, we've talked about how he's very much non,
I mean, I would
typical
love,
mask lens.
not non-binary
Yes.
Aang, right?
Yes.
I mean, listen,
seems
Avatar
pretty
Studios.
obvious.
Bisexual.
And honestly, I don't think
Bisexual.
Aang is necessarily not non-binary.
Yeah.
in the show,
Yeah.
even though
I
they
don't
have
want a
those
new
labels
Avatar,
or,
but since we're getting one, you might as well just include some
why?
queer
Since
people.
when do you not want a new
I
Avatar?
don't want a new
Is this
one.
always?
I want a different story.
I want a new
Like,
Avatar.
I
I
don't-
want instantly.
I don't want
one.
an Avatar to hold an iPhone. That's like my worst nightmare.
They don't need to
Urban.
exactly have iPhones, but
I also don't want Korra to be dead. You need to understand.
look. I'm sorry. She's gonna die.
No. She's immortal, don't you know? No, I'd much prefer a
Um,
story about a past Avatar because we have hundreds of options.
I
So many
think
options.
queer Sokka.
Yeah,
would be good.
that was where I was going.
Bisexual.
Especially
Sokka,
like
I think.
he's all about the fashion. Not that straight men can't be into fashion. This is the thing. It's like very controversial.
But he is though. Like even which episode is it? Avatar Day, where not Avatar Day. The
In
Blind Bandit.
Yeah,
Jack
yeah, yeah.
catches the belt. Yeah.
He's like, oh, I shouldn't have gotten this bag. Like,
Why
should I
should
get
I
the
get
bag?
debating
Should I
about
not
the
get the
bag,
bag?
yeah.
Like,
And in the episode before that, you mentioned Avatar Day. He's all about I need the right hat to go with my pipe.
Yes.
Like it's very
yeah, that's true. He
he's
is. It is true.
accessorizing.
very
like-
metrosexual, whatever. that
This
call
is
it.
obviously all very stereotypical too. But,
I know I feel terrible saying that, but
I mean, yes, but at the same time, like it just seemed. But it's also like such a normal thing
Sokka,
in the show.
he strikes me as someone who would try kissing boys. Like for any Vox Machina listeners out there, very much Scanlan coded. Neither of you know what that means, but people who
No.
understand Critical Role will get what I'm talking about.
Okay. Gay Zuko.
Yeah,
I think,
mhm, mhm.
Oh.
gay
He
Zuko
ran!
and Zuko and Sokka. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Okay.
Find
These
me
are
the
just
Zuko.
possibilities.
fanfic.
Yeah.
Zuka is very popular. Talking about ships.
Yeah, no. It's probably the top on AO3.
I think so,
probably,
yeah.
right?
It's up there.
Just knowing AO3. And we talked about Taizula last podcast. That's another
all about the
obvious
Fire
one.
Nation
Azula.
people. They're all
Azula
hot.
and Tylee, another obvious one. And notice none of what we're saying will disrupt Katang because we cannot
No.
disrupt Katang ever.
Never.
So
It's not.
not gonna. There you go. Okay, such a
Well,
and
no,
if
but
this-
Zukang
yeah,
was a ship also.
Zukang was a ship. I think it was mostly tongue in cheek,
love that.
but especially after
The Avatar and the Fire Lord.
the Indiana
Yes.
Jones the Indiana Jones
That too,
episode
yeah.
of
Both of
Book Three,
those. I think after
that was
those.
a big Zukang.
Well,
and there is you could argue the closest thing to queer representation to Avatar is the Avatar and the Fire
Yes,
Lord. So,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
those boys,
Yeah.
listen, it might not have been in the book, but they definitely kissed at some point.
Yeah, how did they not put it in the book?
It's very, undertones.
That makes me not want to read any of the books because
Get
isn't the
outta
whole point of
here.
doing books now just to do that?
the
Like, why
Roku
would you
book,
do
I will say, is written by
why would
somebody
you
else.
do a Roku book and not do
It's
Roku
written by
and Sozin?
somebody else. The
But
undertones.
like Mike consults on all these books. Like why? Like what's the point?
the undertones
of,
are like Sozin was definitely a closeted little
But why are we doing undertones? Why are we not doing the real thing?
because Sozin is a genocidal maniac. First of all,
it
Yeah,
you could
first
argue because
off.
it makes sense with the time of the okay.
like
And
you don't
also
want
Sozin.
to, you really don't want to
Wait a
portray.
second.
Ali, I think that's the reason they
You
did
don't
that,
want
yeah,
to
I
portray
think
someone
that-
like
yeah.
Sozin as like. I mean, you want to be able to,
But you can
sympathize with them.
anyone.
Like, sure, evil
anyone
people can be gay,
anything.
but like, why would you
Yes.
want to like put
But
that
like,
out there?
why? Yeah, when there is already a group of humans who love to
Yeah.
demonize like
Mhm.
queer people,
I will say
like,
the
why?
dynamic between
Why would you
Sozin
make
and
an
Gyatso,
actual demon?
I think that's probably it.
even though Gyatso has I'm not going to get into that. Spoilers territory.
Anyway, let's check the outline. Is there anything left? for
Is
us
there
to-
anything?
We got it.
Well, what about why don't you guys? Do you have anything to say about like sexuality stuff or gender with Toph? Or
I mean, I have
anything else?
stuff. I have stuff with like how Aang and myself and how it relates to me, but I'll get to that. We don't have time yet, but you can do it any podcast. I'm kind of interested to see how Aang's like anger arc. You know,
His
maybe he'll come up
anger
with more.
arc.
His anger arc. By the way,
Anger
in
arc.
case you're wondering, every word with like an A in it in the Avatar fandom had two A's, like because of
Big
Aang,
gang.
so it's a
Because
gang
of
with
Aang.
two A's.
Aaron.
What other good examples?
Aaron.
Aaron.
What
I think that's good.
What other examples were there? Other than
ga-
that? I
Aang.
feel like
The Avatar.
that's-
Nobody did that.
I
don't
I
think
feel
so.
like
Not
I really
Avatar.
missed out.
you missed out. You missed out. It was good
Of all
times.
the things would be that one.
Dang it.
That on the gang.
What else?
Okay.
I don't know.
Allie, what are your last thoughts here on these 3 episodes? That we talked about?
Yes, still pretty much banger after banger. I know. I mean, the next few episodes. I remember Zuko alone is next. It's just they all hit so good. I'm very excited to like see. I'm on the hype train for book 2. I mean, I know I started saying this is my favorite season. It might be the best season of Avatar, paired with Korra as well. Maybe book 2 of this and book 3 of Korra are tied, and I stand by that. It's very, very strong. Even at the start, it's like insanely strong compared to book 1.
It started stronger than I thought. So, good times. April, final thoughts here.
I love.
Did you have a good time?
I did.
On the Avatar
I
rewatch?
had a great time.
Yay!
Thank you for joining
Yeah.
us.
I really appreciate being invited. Like I said, I feel like I got to like peek behind the curtain of the super cool club.
Exactly.
Like
Super cool.
We're so cool.
20-year-old club.
yeah, right.
It's not that old. 15 years? I don't know. It's old.
I don't know.
I thought you were saying 20. I was like, we're in our 30s now.
No.
I mean, yes.
Podcast
but-
20. I wish I was in my 20s.
I'm okay.
Barely. Okay, yeah. Thank you joining us, April. It was good
you.
stuff.
Yeah.
These were fun episodes. It's good
Yeah,
discussion.
these were fun episodes to join in on. So
Yeah. Next is Zuko Alone. I mean, a banger.
banger.
The Chase and Bitter
Then
Work.
we get
2
into Bratty
episodes.
Toff for you.
Oh,
Bratty Toff, Chase and Bitter Work. I don't feel like I had a strong opinion on the Chase and Bitter Work. I'm interested to see what I think of them now. So, not what I definitely didn't dislike them.
Yeah.
I think I thought they were maybe good,
Yeah.
not great. So the potential for elevation.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see. Okay, let us know what you thought of any of our discussion. Leave a comment wherever you're listening. You can email us podcast@overlyanimated.com whenever this comes out. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Patrons get these podcasts early. So if you want to see the upcoming ones, don't not have to wait. You can become a patron, patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron podcast, Steve. And thanks as always to our patron executive producer, Steve, Michael, and Phonician. Subscribe to not miss any future Avatar FTSW podcasts. And since April's here, we'll plug the Ladybug podcast.
Yeah.
Is this a different,
I don't know
separate from OVA or it's on OVA?
I mean, as I say, it's from the Spur World for Overly Animated at the beginning.
Ladybug podcast for Overly Animated.
Ladybug is Overly Animated proper. This is kind of a separate but related thing. So that's one. And if you check out the Overly Animated archives, we talk about a lot of other shows as well, including Voltron, which was kind of the follow-up show to Korra, at least in terms of the crew. In terms of the crew,
Sure.
Yes. The director of the upcoming Avatar Studios movie was a co-creator of Voltron, Lauren.
One fear.
New
fear unlocked. Thank you.
She's wonderful. Voltron was a great show, despite what anyone says. It's just had a lot of fandom stuff going on that people sour the show with. And a lot of other great shows as well at the Overly Animated archives, overlyanimated.com. Anyway, that's it. What do we want to end on here? We end on a word, April, and instead of saying bye, we say a word.
What was a word from? Was there a word from these 3 episodes that stuck out to you, or like
tough? Like what stands out from our discussion from the episodes?
The Tang.
We could end on Tang. I actually love ending on Tang.
Right,
This is the Tang
we
podcast.
can't not end on Tang.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for listening, guys. 1, 2, 3, Tang.